updates.
Watching those pictures and those videos we saw from the release of those abducted students, I was almost moved to tears because I am also a parent myself, and I can imagine the trauma those parents have gone through for 20 solid days. What do you make of the insecurity situation, particularly in Kaduna State, where so many schools, children have been abducted, with so many of them still in captivity at the moment?
Good morning once again. The audio here is audible, but let me just, in case you are hearing me very well.
We can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Okay. My heart first of all to the parents of and relations of these kidnapped victims all over the country, the parents and relations of all those that have fallen victim of this, what the so-called banditry, but we know is terrorism that is going on all over the country, particularly with the Bethel Baptist students that have been in captivity for 20 days now, and 28 of them were released only yesterday. It has become like the norm in Kaduna State. You know, these kidnappings, attacks in villages, you know, displacing people out of their homelands, kidnappings along the roads is almost on daily basis. The one of these students has gained national attention, maybe because it's a school. But I can tell you that there are so many victims of this barbaric act that are in the forest, in the bushes during this rainfall, and nothing has been heard of them. And a lot more of them when they are not able to raise ransom. The victims are killed and the corpses are dumped either in the river or by the roadside. This just happened about 2 weeks ago when the Bethel School students were kidnapped. They were taken to the same camp with one elderly man who was released that day. And the kidnappers told him that there were 3 young boys that were kidnapped and the parents have not been able to raise ransom. And that in case he knows the relations, he can tell them they should come and pick their dead bodies. And sure enough, the very next day, they were brought by the roadside at Sabongayang, very close to Kaduna, and gone down, 3 of them. So it is the story every day. The forests are filled with victims of this kidnapping. And that is where we find ourselves.
What are you hearing? What really is the government saying anytime a report of a kidnapping incident is made, Jonathan Asake? What does the government say? What does the security what do the security operatives say?
Pardon?
Can you hear me?
Can I hear you?
Yeah, Jonathan Asake, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm asking you, what do security operatives tell you, and some of the people you know who are relatives of kidnapped victims, anytime a report of a kidnapping incident is made? What do they tell you?
Well, again, like I keep complaining, the audio is not very audible, but maybe you are asking what the security people are doing.
What the government of the day, if you can hear it from my end, what the government of the day tells you and the people.
Kaduna State?
Yes, in Kaduna State, the state government. What does it say when each time there's a report, you know, of this kidnapping happening in schools?
Well, his own position has been made known. Governor Nasir has maintained his position that he will not negotiate with bandits. And his wife went ahead to say that even if she is kidnapped, nobody should negotiate on her behalf with the bandits. And so he, first of all, took his child to a public school, and he was applauded for nationally as a patriotic citizen and a leader. But soon after that, he quietly withdrew the child from the school. And so these kidnappings are going on, and he has said nothing. It's not only the kidnappings. Virtually everywhere is boiling in Kaduna State. Right now, as I'm talking, local government has been in the eye of the storm. And over 90% of the inhabitants of what we call Achab land, that is a land occupied by the Kataf nation, they have been displaced out of their homelands. And over 200 homes have been totally razed down by these terrorists. And the farmlands are still being destroyed. You wake up in the morning, you go to your farm, and it has been cut down. And so this is what is going on. So 90%, like I said, of the people are in displaced people's camp. And up till now, the governor has said nothing about it. In fact, he has not visited the people to see their plight. He doesn't know what they are eating. And it is rainy season. And the living condition, there is no organized IDP camp. He has never, at any given time, while these attacks have been going on across the local governments in southern Kaduna, made any attempt to organize an IDP camp where the people will be catered for, particularly their medical needs and their food needs and other things. So that is the same story today. He has said nothing about it, and the people are still there in dehumanizing conditions. So we understand. Before this time, if you recall, in 2016, during the Christmas Day bombing, a 24 hours curfew was imposed, and it lasted for a very long time. The same thing last year, when Zangon Kataf came under heavy attack like this. It was another 24 hours curfew, running almost 3 months. So we're even surprised that he has not imposed the 24 hours curfew again while these attacks are going on. Because each time there are attacks like this in a community, particularly in the southern part of Kaduna State, the only solution that the governor has is to impose a 24 hours curfew on the same communities that have been attacked, instead of going after the attackers. And so there is a very huge humanitarian situation on the ground in Zangon Kataf as I'm speaking now. So the entirety of Kaduna State, like I said, while attacks are going on, communities have been displaced out of their homelands. They cannot access their farms. The same attackers are going further to destroy the farms, and they walk freely with AK-47 and other dangerous weapons, and nothing happens to them. And when the communities come forth, to defend themselves, that is the time that they are taken into detention. We have so many of our people in detention like that today. And let me just say this. When the governor increased school fees of tertiary institutions by over 300%, there were protests by the students at the time that there is so much difficulty. And most of these difficulties caused by his own harsh policies. He has sacked 21,000 teachers. Most of them have not been paid their entitlements. Most of them have withdrawn their children out of school. Most of them have relocated because they cannot pay rent. He has sacked civil servants in their thousands. And he has increased the school fees. And while the students were protesting in Kafanchan College of Education, Gidawaya. The security just came in a commando style and gone down a lot of them. 4 died. 13 were taken to the state CID in Kaduna. We have been trying, they were not protesting violently. They were only making a peaceful protest of the increase. And as if that is not enough, our roads have become impassable. The road between Katsina and Kaduna, you cannot ply that road now. On daily basis, people have been taken into the forest. Our communities, farming communities, in fact, those ones cannot even complain to anybody. The media cannot even catch what is going on there, because they are being taken as slaves, captives every day, and they have to be forced to pay ransom. Some of these villages have been occupied, and some of them before
Honorable Asake, it
they
appears
access
we're
their
having...
farmlands,
Okay.
they have to pay.
Go on. Okay,
Now,
if you can
these
hear
stories-
us, what would you say? What would you
Please,
say?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now. What would you say is responsible for the increase in the spate of kidnappings in Kaduna State, even though we know that this insurgency and banditry attack is happening almost everywhere in the country? But Kaduna State appears to be in the eye of the storm at the moment. As you rightly said, every day we hear reports about what is happening in that state. What do you think is responsible for this increased attack?
Well, you know, the basic essence of government, I've always maintained this, is the security and the well-being of the people. If you have a leader in a place, by his rhetoric, by his actions or inactions, he appears at every inch, not only not doing anything about the situation of insecurity or tackling the challenges that are facing his own domain, but also by his own rhetorics, he appears to be supporting what is going on. Then you cannot have an end to this. What am I trying to say? The governor himself came out to tell the people when Nnamdi Kanu was arrested and brought back to the country, and he was comparing Nnamdi Kanu, IPOP, and the Fulani herdsmen activities in the country. And he said they were only doing business. That is a leader at that level saying that they were doing business. And now he didn't disclose to Nigerians who is the businessman behind these businessmen. And look at what is going on with these kidnappings. The day these Bethel Baptist kids were kidnapped, the next day, the kidnappers sent a message that they want food items to give the students or the students will die. The parents gathered food items, bags of rice, oil, and so on, and they took it to the kidnappers. How did they deliver those things to the kidnappers? And yet we have a government in place. The very next, a few days after, an emir in Kajuru local government was kidnapped. Every intelligence and security was deployed, and he was rescued in less than 24 hours. But as we're talking now, almost 3 weeks after, these kids have been in the rain. The ones that were rescued, the 28 that were rescued yesterday, anybody who saw those pictures of those, the videos of those students will weep. Most of them, their legs were swollen. They have become emaciated. They are not being fed. They stay in this rain, under the rain. Imagine it is your kid, but he withdrew his child from his school and he won't talk about it. So this is where we find our leaders must prove to us that they are genuinely ready to tackle the challenges of insecurity that is facing the nation. If they are to remove doubts from us that they are not complicit in what is playing out, Now, we keep talking about banditry. We have become fashionable in calling what is happening with these herdsmen, these barbaric people, that they are bandits. They are not bandits. Bandits are mere criminals. If these people could bring down a fighter aircraft, shoot it down, and we still call them bandits, these are terrorists. And the earlier they are branded as such, the better. And some people say that the Nigerian government does not have the capacity. I've always maintained that the government has more than enough capacity. Our armed forces, our security agencies, the DSS have more than enough capacity to finish what is going on in a very short time. If they could go to Kenya and blindfold Nnamdi Kanu to this country, chase Igboho to Benin Republic, and he's facing trial today, and smoke out the IPOP commander, Ikonso, and kill him, and Leo Tawase, alias Ghana, in Benue, and kill him. I mean, come on. Who is fooling who in this country? And yet, these people have been killing. They kidnapped the Greenville University students, innocent students, and killed 5 of them, and then collected a ransom of over 200 million with motorbikes before the remaining 16 of them were released. The story has been on, and yet, when the Sheikh Shegumi came on air, very sad to hear that these people that they call bandits, they are harmless. That these people that they call bandits, they don't kill. But I can count instances where they have killed hundreds of people, hundreds of the people that they have kidnapped, hundreds of people that they have attacked in their communities, that they only collect ransom. So kidnapping and collecting ransom is no longer criminal under our laws? Is that what we're saying? Is that what leaders should be saying? And yet, he went ahead to say that the military is part of this game of kidnapping and banditry. And yet, I did not hear any serious response from the military and as an establishment. So come on, what is going on in this country? So we are all, baffled. We, the victims in these communities that are always in the eye of the storm, facing these atrocities, are baffled. We don't know what is going on. But hey,
all right.
The rest of the country is beginning to see what we have been complaining about in the southern part of Kaduna, what we have been complaining about in all areas of the Middle Belt, in Plateau, in Benue, in Nasarawa, in Niger. This terrorism that has been going on has taken more lives in the Middle Belt from 2012 than what you have been hearing about the Boko Haram. But it has been downplayed deliberately. Right. When these killings were going on last week in Zangon-Kataf, that is when we heard that the MBC gave an order that the activities of these terrorists, of these kidnappers, should not be reported. And we felt that that was the grand design, that was the way that was suggestive that genocide that is going on in southern Kaduna today will be downplayed and will be hidden before the world. And we have refused to keep quiet about it because we know that genocide is really going on. When you go to kill people, you burn their houses. In fact, let me say something here. The house of the Agwatia, the paramount ruler of the Atia people, was actually bombed. If experts will go there, they will tell you it was not burned down, it was bombed. So those people have gotten to that sophisticated level. The home of the former field commander of ECOMOP, General Shekari Bilio, was bombed, and so also many others. And yet no investigation, nothing about it. Whenever we'll hear a statement from the government, we'll hear that, oh, there is a crisis, oh, there is reprisal attacks, oh, there is conflict. It is not conflict. These are terrorist attacks on innocent citizens, and the government needs to rise up against this or needs to come out clean on what is going on in Nigeria today.
All right. Jonathan, you said that sometimes the government claims it's a reprisal attack. Has there been any occasion where the people within your area in southern Kaduna have also made a move to defend themselves? And what has been the outcome of such a move?
The audio is not very
You
clear.
didn't
Please,
get that.
can you
Oh.
come again?
Has there been any move by the people within your region in southern Kaduna to defend themselves? And if there has been, what has been the outcome of such a move?
Let me say this. I can tell you with all sense of responsibility that if the security will leave our communities, our people can defend themselves against these attackers. Not with anything. The attackers come and they perpetrate these heinous crimes against humanity, and it appears they are being protected, because it is only when the natives will come out with their machetes and bows and arrows and then guns that they are arrested and thrown into detention. So it means that the protection is not for the communities, it's for the attackers to have their leeway. And so we are looking at a situation where, if government is sincere, a joint civilian task force should be allowed in our places, where the military alongside, or the security agencies alongside the indigents of the area, the very victims, the youth of the area, will participate to avoid these instances of suspicion. When the attacks were going on last week in Zamafara, what the natives observed, what they told us they saw, the victims, those that survived this attack, that they saw the attackers being accompanied by people that wore military or uniform, and with vehicles painted in military color. So whether they were fake military, which is always the situation, so they can always have fake military, fake police, and fake security agencies. But if they are fake, they should be sorted out. If there is immediate response by the security agencies, they will always, they are the ones in a position to identify fake soldiers or fake policemen or fake DSS or whatever it is. So we are in a situation where we don't know who is a real security agent and who is a fake one.
And that
So
brings
that
me...
is a situation, that is a dilemma that our people find themselves.
All right, Honorable Asake, that brings me to asking again, being also in Kaduna State, do you perceive, do you get a sense that the people who are perpetrating this attack are really not Nigerians? You know, you're saying you don't even know whether the ones in military uniform are fake or not, but the faces that you see, you know, do you think there's a mix of foreigners coming into Kaduna State to attack people? Because even the president did say that some of the people who commit this crime in the country are really not Nigerians.
Yes, I have said it time without number. Most of these people are coming through our porous borders. But you cannot perpetrate this kind of crimes without insiders. And I've said it time without number again. While our people are being attacked and being displaced, when we go there, we talk to them. And they tell us, they give testimony of what they experience. There are local Fulanis that connive with these foreign attackers to perpetrate this mayhem on our communities. That is what we know. So they are foreigners, but they have their local agents that they connive with to perpetrate the acts. And so we are not in a position to be able to decipher, to know which one is foreign, which one is local. But we know that even the local Fulanis that we know we have been staying with, some of them have also fallen victim But they are falling victim because they have the criminal ones amongst them that actually network and point out areas of attack for these foreign attackers. The same thing with the kidnappings. They have people that actually, navigate for them, that are within those localities. They recruit them to do that. So the foreign attackers recruit the local, people that will navigate for them to perpetrate the acts. And that is what we know.
All right, Jonathan, tell us, the students that are still in captivity. Let's go back to the Bethel Baptist High School students. 87 still in captivity. We are hearing reports that the 28 that have been released, about 50 million naira was paid for them to be released. Do you have any information or get any sense whatsoever that the government may have assisted one way or the other in getting these kids out of captivity? These kids that were released yesterday.
If you are talking about the Kaduna State government, I will be surprised if the government might have assisted. I have not been part of the negotiation, but I've been talking to some of the leaders of the church who actually have been part of the negotiation, even though they have not divulged that information to me. But I say I will be surprised if the government of the day in Kaduna State is part of that negotiation. I will be surprised. Then that will be a turning point, and it will be pleasant to know that. But as I know what has been playing out, they have never been a part of it. In all the episodes that have taken place before, of all the ones that have been killed, that have been kidnapped and killed and ransoms paid. And so, like I said, I will be surprised if they are. And it could be, I have not found out.
What options are left for the parents of these children that are still in captivity? Yeah, you've talked about local mobilization within the community level, but is that really enough to get these children out? Considering the fact that the 50 million we heard that was paid was supposed to secure the release of the entire 115 that are still in captivity, but only 28 were released. Now that we still have more left, what options are left for the parents and also the community members?
Well, the parents of the students have been gathering in the school every morning, every day, to pray. Nigeria is a religious nation, they say. And so whenever there is a force that is beyond us to tackle, we resort to God. And that is what the parents have been doing, first and foremost. Then they have also been putting heads together to see what conditionalities that the kidnappers will bring before them. But like I said, the authorities in the state have not encouraged the people to resist these atrocities. If instead the authorities have in every of their actions or inactions or utterances encourage even the kidnappers to be emboldened the more. Because when the governor came up and said that he was not going to negotiate with criminals, the leader of those terrorists was interviewed. It went viral, and he mentioned it. He said, well, they are going to increase their activities, particularly in the southern part of Kaduna, so that to tell the governor that they are on the ground. But if the activities are concentrated in Kaduna State, they are victims. The victims are ordinary citizens. They are not the governor's child. They are not the governor's wife. They are not the governor's relation or his friends. So the victims are still the masses that need help from the authorities.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Honorable Jonathan Asake, for giving us these perspectives on the issues and the happenings in Kaduna State. We do hope the government of the day will do something quickly and resolve the issue so we stop seeing these killings and these kidnappings.